See, you are what you are in this world. That's either one or two things. Either you're somebody or you're nobody.
A lot of this is behind the scenes or under the hood.
It's time to just look under the hood. No stone should be unturned.
I don't even know what that means. Look, I got an engine underneath my hood.
Most important thing in business is honesty, integrity, hard work, family, never forgetting where we came from.
Hey, pop the hood.
Pop the hood?
Pop the hood.
Welcome to the Under the Hood podcast with Jonathan Hood.
Welcome to the Under the Hood podcast with me, Jonathan Hood. Thanks for downloading the podcast. My guest today is the First Lady, Khris Hutchinson. She's a pioneer in the radio business as a Billboard award-winning radio music and program director. And she's a house music DJ. Not just any house music DJ, whether it's dance or deep house or drum and bass or electro house or disco, progressive house. I mean, she does it. She does it all. And she's been doing it for a long time. Ever since I was in college with her, I knew that she was a tremendous DJ. We went to college together, and I actually went to college with a pioneer in the business. So we went to Kennedy King together, Kennedy King College out of Chicago, and we set WKKC radio on fire together. Man, probably more her than me, but we'll tell that story as we move forward here. It's Khris Hutchinson, better known as the First Lady from V103 in Chicago, with us on the Under the Hood podcast. First Lady, thanks so much for joining the Under the Hood podcast. How are you?
I am fine, and how are you?
I am great. I guess we have a lot to catch up with, but we have to tell the story about you and about me as far as how we started in the business. So let's start here. What do you remember most about college? What do you remember most about WKKC radio in Chicago?
Oh my goodness. I remember the hands-on approach that we got to get our hands right on the equipment. I remember how great the instructors were, whether it was Virgil Hempel or I can't remember the other guy's name.
Frank Hayashida.
Frank Hayashida, yes.
And Mark Lukovich.
Love Frank Hayashida. Not so much of a Mark Lukovich fan, but only because I didn't take his class. I didn't take his class because I was there strictly for radio. I wasn't there at that point for television. But I really loved the fact that we learned radio from the basics. So we had to learn how to read the meters. We had to know how to take meter readings. We needed to know how to send the emergency broadcast system tone because it didn't just automatically happen. So we had to learn how to do things. So I remember that. I remember the cage. I remember we'd have to walk down the ramp to the cage because it had the bars and everything on there. So I have fond memories of just being able to do college radio at what we consider to be a major radio label. And many of the stations in Chicago, like GCI and BMX, they paid attention. They didn't say they did, but we could tell by the things that they were doing with their programming that what was happening at WKKC was having an effect on some of their programming decisions. So that was it was just a great time. I wouldn't trade that time for anything. And KKC wasn't my only college experience because I also had the benefit of attending Columbia College as well. Although I did not work at CRX, I got to see the difference between the way that station functioned versus the way that KKC functioned, which gave me a perspective on the difference between urban radio and CHR or pop radio, the difference in the way that things are done. It's basically the same, but it's not. And then also Chicago State University is where I got my first opportunity to help start a radio station and my first shot at being a program director. And I think I was program director for maybe 2 months. And then I got hired on at GCI. So it was like, I quit and just started my career. So fond memories of college. Least fond memory of college, student loan, paying them back.
Right. For everybody, right? That's for everybody.
Right.
You know, I was thinking about this, Chrissy. The Stretch and Bobbito had a documentary, and for those that have not seen that, we'll put the link out there for be able to see Stretch and Bobbito, because it was two guys that came together that were mixers, but they also had a radio show, and it was a small show, small station in New York. But I think that the reason why that documentary resonated with me is because it reminded me of our days at WKKC, where, you know, it on the surface, it seems small, but yet everyone is aware of it. Because I just remember the first thing that comes to mind is, like, I saw mint condition walking in the hallways, and they were like, well, where's the radio station? It's just like, and they weren't anything. They didn't even have a name yet, but they were walking down the hallways. It was kind of like that. So anytime that you have Biggie and Pac, and you have others coming through like it was in New York, it reminded me of our station, in which, you know, you have artists coming through because they had the awareness of WKKC.
Right. Absolutely.
Who was the first artist that you talked to on air in college?
Oh my goodness. Oh wow, I don't even remember. I think it was. Oh my goodness, I want to say it was. Oh my God, it was either D.A. Smart, or at the time Common Sense, or Twister. It was one of the three of them, because I was with Pink House doing Rap House at the time, and I was up there with him, so I got a chance to do part of the interview with him. But I don't even remember my first major station interview. I can't remember. I had the most memorable ones, but I can't remember who the first one was. Nobody's ever asked me that.
That's why I'm here. Why don't you have so many pictures? Why don't you go through your pictures? You have so many pictures going all the way back. You should be able to find who that was, right?
You know what? I can't even. I have a lot of the photos, but my mom also has some, and she's holding them for ransom. So yeah, I'm not going to pay her for photos. I got the photos of such and such and so now. So, but. One of my most memorable, one of the the strangest interviews was with Eric B. from Eric B. and Rakim. He is the king of the one-word answers, and I was just like, so you got the new album coming out, and he said, yeah. Well, so you expecting big things from it, yeah. Oh, okay. So, people consider Rakim to be the greatest rapper of all time, so how do you feel about that? It's true. Are you kidding me? Can I get more? So, when I got tired of being a dentist and pulling teeth, I just moved on. I said, well, thank you so much for spending time with me with that in-depth interview, Like, get out of here. But later on, I found out that he's just not that guy. And so that was my first experience with learning how to interview someone who is just not that guy. So you have to go with the one-word answers, and you have to try to add on, and even though they're saying, yeah, eventually you will break through. So now when I get somebody, I can really feel it when they come through the door, because it's first, it's short answers, and you could tell by their body language that they're uncomfortable. So, I have little things that I do to try to break the ice, to talk to them and talk to the people that are in the room with them, that came with them. Because sometimes when you see everybody else is comfortable in the situation, you get a little more comfortable. The craziest interview was with with Flavor Flav. Mm-hmm. Flav, I said, so Flav, you welcome to Chicago. What are you going to be doing here? And I think the next thing that I said to him was, okay, well, thanks for, stopping by. Because he just, went, and he was talking. I went, and I could not get a word in edgewise. So the one finger thing, as we call the church lady finger, he was not adhering to that. So
No.
I was like,
No.
forget it. And I've had such great opportunities to interview people at the beginning of their careers, like, Craig Mack, rest in peace, and Biggie when they first went out on the Big Mac tour. Craig Mack and I had a little tiff because I walked in and I said good morning, and it was 7 o'clock in the morning, and he was like, it's 7 o'clock in the morning, curse word, and so, and he just had this real attitude, and so I'm South Side of Chicago black woman, so I don't know where he was, what he thought, who he thought he was talking to, but I told him, I said, if you don't sell another record, I'm going to get a check in 2 weeks. Good morning. And that was the end of this. I didn't have anything else to say to him. And I saw him again when I was working in New York at BLS. He came up, and I interviewed him when they did the remix of Flavor in Your Ear. And because they did like a 2000-something version. Mm-hmm. And he apologized. Because I reminded him, I will remind you. And he said, you know what, I'm so sorry. I was really feeling myself back then, and I'm so sorry. And so it was good that, that he accepted his responsibility and his bad behavior, so. But, yeah, some really good, and some stories, I've worked with, like Isaac Hayes, Frida Payne, Ashford and Simpson, Roger Troutman, Ed Lover and Dr. Dre, DJ Scribble, DJ Red Alert, Grandmaster Flash was my DJ for about a year when I was at BLS. The original Spinderella, Funkmaster Flex, Fat Man Scoop. Who else? Tony Humphries, Wendy Williams, Angie Martinez. Mm-hmm. So, and then, Doug Banks, Tom Joyner. I think it has more for me become a thing of who have I not worked with or who have I not been in the room with, So that's been one of the things that I've been trying to figure out. If I could work with anybody, who would it be? Right. I haven't quite got an answer for that yet.
Well, I want to make sure that people know that when we were in college, when you were at KKC with Pink House, and you referenced him earlier, Isadore Pink, who's passed away, mm-hmm. but mm-hmm. I want people to understand that in that late 80s, early 90s, how big the radio station was, where you two were the prominent voices of that station. And for me to come in there as someone that wasn't sure exactly what he wanted to do, I want to do something on the radio, but I didn't know what it was going to be. And then to know that I'm working with you two, it's just kind of like, okay, that's kind of intimidating, because you hear the voices, and when KKC is in the same parallel, in my view, of like a BMX or a GCI at the time, it's like, wow, this is pretty big. What are your memories of Pink House?
I remember so much about our relationship. He trained me on how to, I hate to say trained because you train a circus animal, but he showed me how to effectively run the board and how to take the meter readings, and helped me out with it being okay for me to be a woman and to get on stage or get on a microphone and be an actual microphone commando. So I had that opportunity with Pink. Then we had a personal friendship where, because Pink never drove, so when we would go places, sometimes I would be the person driving. We'd be in meetings. Some of my fondest memories is we'd be in meetings at the station sometimes, and he would be leaned over on my shoulder, squeezing my arm. You know, every woman has that little fat part under her arm that we don't like to talk about, like the chicken wing part. And he'd be squeezing that and sucking his thumb. And so, because that's just who he was. And he was not embarrassed about it. And I would just be like, dude, are you really asleep in the meeting? You know, are you really asleep? And he would be asleep. You know, so we had a lot of fun, and everywhere that we went, he was so well received. Not to say that I wasn't, but as somebody who came up right behind him, I was just kind of watching what he did, you know, and realizing that, okay, I see. It is okay to be who you are. You don't have to put on airs, because I had seen other people putting on airs. Mm-hmm. And that's not who Pink was. And I think people appreciated that. I know I did.
So I think we also have to tell a story about the Wild West of radio back during that time, because I got my first free beeper from Pink House, from Hyde Park Beepers. So see, here's the thing that young people won't realize. Like, it's not that way necessarily now, because it is really, you know, you really are seeing program directors and stations and companies cracking down. But there was a time where, you know, you're on the radio and you're talking about, hey, you know, I need a beeper, and all of a sudden here comes Hyde Park Beepers down the rampway, and they're like, yeah, I can hook you up, just come by, do a remote or whatever. The Wild West of radio, what do you remember about that? Because that's where I got my first beeper, because Pink House was like, you want to hook up? Hey man, you want to hook up? I got you, man. And like, it happened. So what do you remember?
I remember, you know, going into some place and, you know, people knowing who you are, and, you know, they're giving you free food, and, you know, it wasn't a big situation like it is now. You know, there was no, ooh, you're doing something wrong, because it wasn't like then you turn around and give them a shout out. But sometimes you could, and it wasn't a big deal. Now there's so much of an issue about it, even at the college level. So I remember that. I remember just when we were the first college station to do live remotes that would go out to the Hyde Park Beepers or Randolph Beepers, wherever it was. We were always doing something for the Beeper Daddy, who's my god brother. So that was that was always fun. And we did have beepers, although, you know, we had to pay our bill, but we were endorsing the company. And another crazy thing is that, speaking, using that term loosely, is Pink and I were doing the remotes for the beeper companies, and we would always run into Crazy Howard McGee, who started out just doing the voice for the some of the beeper companies. And he wasn't a radio jock. He always wanted to be one. And finally, years and years later, he got his opportunity. But so we were running into people that hadn't really started their radio careers, and we were in the midst of starting ours already. So the other thing is, we had this ongoing thing with CRX and NUR and HPK, you know, because they were all college stations. But at the end of the day, it's the end of the day, and KKC is the best and will always be the best. Although HPK, because it was University of Chicago, again, different rules. I didn't make this world. This is the way it is. Different rules for different schools. So they could do things after 12 o'clock and play music that we could not. JP Chill could do things that Pink House could not do. For reasons of, just like I just said, you're talking about the University of Chicago or an IIT, you know, schools like that, which, I'm sorry, IIT, not the University of Chicago, but you're talking about schools that have a different, it's just different. Let me just leave it at that.
Yeah, you can play explicit lyrics, which I remember listening to. You can play explicit lyrics after 12 o'clock, and we couldn't do that.
Yeah, and even now, you know, there's a lot when you start to look at your B96s. back in the day, they could play, they could say the B word and get away with it. I mean, Eddie and Jobo were saying things that Doug Banks and Tom Joyner could have never said and gotten away with, So the times then were different. I don't know if it's just a thing of, I guess it's a thing of black folks, you ain't going to behave that way and embarrass me type of thing. Whereas on the other side, it was just kind of like be who you are. And so now when you listen to radio versus back then, GCI, B96, and Power 92 are all screaming the same stuff. They're all using the same vernacular, the same words. When you watch it on social media, they're saying the same, they're using the same words. So when back in the day, you better not say the B word. You better not. So you will be fired. You better not even allude to that fact. And the N word, you better not even say it in the studio with the microphone off and somebody hear you. So nowadays, and in some places, I mean, I've worked at stations where just walking down the hallways, this is everyday vernacular. It was strange to me, and I couldn't refer to people like that because I just didn't see them like that. And if I saw them acting in a manner that I didn't feel was professional, I had several other names I could have called them besides that. So I widened my vocabulary so that I could use words to talk about people that would not get me fired.
Makes sense. You cut them and they don't even know that you're bleeding, that they're bleeding.
Right.
So you worked in New York. Not only you worked in Chicago, but you worked in New York as well. And when you hear the differences, it's, to me, in a lot of ways, it's night and day, the way New York runs their shows and the way that they mix. What are the similarities and differences that you saw between Chicago and New York?
Well, when I got to New York, while I was at KISS in New York, working with Isaac Hayes, it was wasn't really that much different from radio in Chicago when you talk about your V103s, because it was adult radio. So, adult or grown folk radio, as we would call it. They did things, they had their own humor that maybe we didn't catch on to. But on the Hot 97 side, when they switched me to Hot 97, I did Chicago radio. So it was all in New York at that time. It was all about them. And it still basically is. It's all about them. Sure. And they're on the radio and you're listening to them. And, when I came on, Moni Love used to come on behind me and she would be listening on her way in and she'd be like, yo, with her accent that I love so much, which I will not even attempt to impersonate, but, she's got the British accent. And so she was saying, that that's crazy what putting those listeners on the air and asking questions and talking to them and stuff, and I'm going, that's radio. You all don't do that. And they weren't doing that. And this was like in 98, 99, they weren't doing that. That's not something they did. And so that was different. Now, one thing that I really love about New York, period, versus Chicago, the one thing I love about New York is the one thing that I despise about Chicago, and that is in New York, let's get this money. Let's get this paper. I don't care if I don't like you. I can hate you from here to around the world and back. But if we can get this money, let's get this money, and I can hate you as I'm counting my money. In Chicago, it's I don't like you, and none of us are going to eat. And it is still the mentality today, not just in radio, but on the DJ scene, on the promoter scene, in many cases on the artist scene. Collaboration is such a hard thing, such a hard concept in our home city. And I'm not really sure why it does exist, but it doesn't exist without there being some kind of what's in it for me thing. Well, what's in it for you is that when I win, you win, we win. Mm-hmm. But we don't see that. we're still in the me thing, and New York is in the me thing too. But they're New York. Chicago is, I'm Chi-Town. Now, when we leave outside of Chicago, then we collaborate. Then we want to hang together. Then we want to click up. Then we want to represent. But when we're at home, I don't deal with that person. I don't blah blah. No, I'm not doing a show with them. And it's like, okay, neither one of you all are gonna get this job. I'll go give it to somebody else.
So
that concept. That.
No, Eric is nodding his head because he is agreeing with what you're saying based on an interview I just did with Leon Rogers. You can go back to the archives and listen to the Under the Hood podcast. We had Leon Rogers in studio with us, and he pretty much said the same thing. It is weird, First Lady. What is going on with our city on why that there's so much why everyone's so individualistic? I think that's just really strange. And he talked about it from a comedian artist standpoint as well. Like Deion Cole can come to the city and he'll have a set and it'll be like very limited applause. He goes someplace else and get love. He's got to stand outside of a club behind the velvet rope. It's Deion Cole from Blackish and Grownish, and he's got to be able to stand behind a rope for an hour instead of just being able to go right to the front of the line. And in the music business, the same way. Where did that start? I guess that's been the case as long as I've been in the business.
It's been the case when my parents my father and Herb Kent were best friends. Mm-hmm. In fact, my dad was Herb's oldest friend, and that's how he became like my godfather. And I remember even back when they were on VON doing the Electric Crazy People, there was still the sense, and there wasn't a lot of black radio. So it wasn't just black radio. It was just radio, period. And it was people, period. It's just the mentality. It's crazy because for us to be so far north, we have kind of a southern mentality of, well, I'm not doing this because this person didn't say we should do it. You can't think for yourself. Mm-hmm. You can't move on your own. And for those of us who are individual thinkers, we then become outcasts. They don't want to play right. No, it has nothing to do with playing right. It has to do with playing the game. And you're trying to play basketball with football rules. That's not going to work.
Right.
It doesn't work. And I don't care how yes, there's a court, there's a field, there's a goal, there's a basket, there's a football, there's a basketball, there's players and players, but it's not the same game. And Chicago doesn't play the game with the right rules. And that has been going on, it's got to be probably since the beginning, probably since back with the Al Capone days. I mean, we have a real, we are a gangster city. And that's a part of our heritage. It's who we are. And yes, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of when I go places. Like when I moved to Indianapolis and I say I'm from Chicago, people back up. Whoa, gangster city. That's right. Gangster city. Watch your neck. But at the end of the day, I'm no gangster.
That's ridiculous.
I just like to, I pretend like I'm a gangster because I got to keep the Chicago thing going up. But I'm no gangster, but when it comes to business or if it comes to radio, then yes, I'm coming for what's mine. I'm not trying to keep you from getting yours. I want you to get yours too. And if we can get it together, great. But I'm definitely coming for mine. So you need to understand that. I'm coming for mine. I'm not trying to keep you from yours. I'm coming for mine. I don't want yours. I want mine, and it's there, and I'm coming for it. If you're in my way, it's because you're in my lane. And that's a problem for us. Mm-hmm. It's not a problem for other people. And don't get me wrong, New York has problems too. They have issues too. But they're not the same issues that we have. And then when you go overseas, like I DJ in Amsterdam sometimes, and when you go overseas, you realize it's an American problem. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, people in the Netherlands will tell you, we got the same thing going on. So I think everywhere you go, it's the same bull. It's just at a different level, and it just,
right.
The hill that is rolling down is bigger or smaller than the one that you've been involved with, but it's still there. And honestly, Jonathan, I think it's a human thing, and it's sad because I see it with the students, because Eric and I are both instructors at the Illinois Media School. In fact, I'm proud to say that I was one of the people that taught Eric how to teach, even though he's such an amazing teacher anyway. He is awesome. And I'm not saying that because he's in the room. I'm saying that because he is truly awesome. And he surprised me because I thought he was going to be, this little white boy is going to be a pushover. No. The students would come to him with stuff. He'd be like, yeah, okay, but you need to do this. You know, so
Right.
Which is great because the students, they learn. But at the same time, there's still that, I don't like this person, so I'm not going to work with them. Well, this is a group project. You don't have a choice. Either, well, you do have a choice. You do it, or you don't pass the class.
Right.
Those are your choices.
All right.
And here's the bigger thing. You still owe the money.
Yes, we understand. Okay. I do have a question for you about Illinois Media School in a second. I do, but let me ask you this. So when did you, the first thing is that how much of an adjustment was it for you to deal with New York garbage in front of people's crib instead of having an alley?
And that wasn't a problem at all because my father lived in New York since I was 9 years old. So I was accustomed to seeing that. It never seemed strange to me. And actually, as a kid, I never realized that New York didn't have alleys until my father brought it to my attention.
That's still nasty, though.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It is. It's such a beautiful place, but in such a crazy kind of way. It's when you look at a painting that, like Picasso. When you look at a Picasso painting, it's just kind of all over the place. It's like, what is this dude doing? Where are the lines? Okay, there it is. Wait, why is that eye that way? I didn't go there. Okay. Is this man crazy? But it's like that. It's all over the place, and it's dirty, but it's beautiful. And when the sun's shining on it, even the garbage doesn't look that bad, But when you go on the subway, forget about it. I still can't handle that smell. It's like everybody on the globe made a trip to New York in their lifetime and urinated in the subway, and then the heat blows all year round on that urination, and but it's getting better. It's getting a little better.
Oh well, that's nice to know. I just never seen rats on a Picasso, but if that's because there's plenty of super rats on that Picasso in New York City. That's for sure. I can't stand that place.
You know what? But the rats have to eat too. The rats have to eat too. They exist for a purpose. It might not be a purpose that I need them for, but trust the rats. They deserve to exist too. If you didn't have rats, you say rats are nasty, but you got people that have gerbils and mice and all kind of other stuff. It's just rats like garbage.
Are we talking about the radio business, or are we actually talking about mice?
Both.
Okay, just asking. All right, so where did you meet your husband, Hugo?
Oh my gosh. Hugo and I met, I was 18. I had just done an in-store with Tyree Cooper. My song was used by a DJ, and his song is I Fear the Night. And so we were leaving JR's music in Evergreen Plaza, also known to some people as Ever Black. So we were leaving there, and Tyree said, stop at this club with me my best friends are there, so I want to introduce you to them. I'm like, are they cute? Because I'm not trying to meet anybody that's not cute. And so, and Tyree is like, I guess. I mean, I'm not judging them. I guess they are. So we get there, and I think the club was Gentle Persuasion. It was on 89th and 88th or 89th and Ashland. So we go in, and we go in the DJ booth. The party hasn't started yet. We go in the DJ booth, and I meet Mike Dunn. So I met Mike first. And he says, hey, this is my best friend, Mike Dunn. And he says to Mike, this is my sister, Chrissy. And so Mike says, hey, how you doing? I said, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Then Tyree and Mike started talking, so I turned around and walked out the DJ booth because they're not talking to me. And when I was 18, I was like, you see, I got all this glamour going, and you're going to have a conversation with a guy? Whatever, I'm leaving out. So I went out, and I turned the corner, and there was a table full of guys, and at the end of the table was Hugo. And I was looking at him, and I said to Tyree, I said, who is that? And he said, oh, that's my other best friend and brother, Hugo H. I was like, oh. So for years, I thought that I was the one sweating Tyree to introduce me to Hugo. Like Hugo wasn't interested. That was the story that he told. Until one day we were at Farley's house, and Farley was like, no, and Tyree was like, no, Hugo, you were asking me who she was, too. So it took us dating, breaking up, getting back together, getting married, for me to find out the truth. He had been telling his story his way the whole time. Anyway, so when we were introduced to each other, I was already DJing, and he was already a DJ. So we connected. There was that mutual bond of music. So it wasn't just, boyfriend, girlfriend. We actually went out and went record shopping together. We went to parties together. We talked about music, stuff like that. And that's how we met. Tyree Cooper.
That's awesome. Over Tyree Cooper. So whose creative music was bigger, yours or his?
Oh, definitely his. Definitely his. I may have had 3 crates of records, and of those 3 crates of records, maybe 45 of those records belong to him. But he would, even now, we have a 10 by 20 storage space and 24 hours access, temperature controlled for his frickin' vinyl. $100 a month this man spends on his. It's ridiculous to me, but whatever. He's not a drug addict. He don't chase women.
Right.
He's not sitting up in front of video games all day. So if this is what it is, fine. But he's got most of the crates there, and they're stacked 4 high, and they go all the way around, and it's three rows. So, I'm trying to get him to start storing some stuff in the house, in the garage. I'm like, hey, it's not important to put the cars in the garage. Let's put the vinyl in the garage and save $1,200 a year. And he said no.
I don't blame him. Well, between the both of you, how much vinyl do you have? How many albums do you think you have combined?
Let's see. Right about now, I have 6 pieces of vinyl that are all 100% mine. The other 3,000 pieces of vinyl belong to him. And I'm cool with that.
Wait a minute. That is really surprising. You only have six albums?
Yeah, and honestly, let's see, I got the Lady Sings the Blues promo, and I've got Third World. I got a Third World promo, and I got a Richard Pryor promo album, and the other 3 I can't even remember what they are, because I just, I'm not a vinylist. He is, and so I played vinyl because that's what we played, and then when we moved to CDs, I was fine with doing that. He also has a reel-to-reel. He's got 4 reel-to-reels, 6 mixers, or 7.
Wow.
He's got 3 12s, a 1600, a 1800, 2 DR4. And so it's a whole museum going on, in the house. From he just got the Roland 303, 808, 909. Because they reissued it as a boutique, so it's a lot smaller. So he's got all of that stuff, but he's the one making music. I'm just the label owner, and let me tell you, being the boss of your husband is not all it's cracked up to be. Well, let me just say that.
When we get back to National Record Day next year, I'm not going to go to in Beverly or someplace else or 87th Street. I'm just going to come to your house. Is that okay? I'll come to where he's got the vinyl, because I can be able to purchase vinyl right there, right?
Here's the crazy thing. With everything, This man will, he has eBay on his phone, right? So he'll be on eBay on his phone. What are you doing, sweetheart? 2:00 in the morning. No, I'm not worried about him being on the phone texting some woman or another. No, he's on eBay. I'm trying to win this record. Okay, what record is it? It's Philly Sounds, Philly Classics.
Right.
Don't you have 4 copies of that in plastic promo versions? Yeah, but I don't feel like looking for them right now. So let me get this right. You're gonna rebuy something you already have 4 copies of? Yeah. And I'm bidding on this Moonchild too. Why are you bidding on that? We know Captain Sky. We could just text him and say, send us a copy. No. This is white label. This is promo, and look at what it's going for. It's going for $300. So you're gonna spend $300 on a piece of vinyl? Are you kidding me? The car needs to tune up. Yeah. If I went, it's crazy. But again, that's his drug, and I'm fine with that.
That is great. I love him.
People say happy wife, happy life, but it also goes in the reverse. So if your husband's happy, you will be a happy wife.
That is awesome.
So that's awesome. Yeah.
All right, Chrissy, tell me this: what was the best set that you've ever had? Do you know the party that you remember? The party, the setting, the mood, the best party that you ever mixed for?
Would have to. Well, there were 2. The first one was with the Fantastic Four, because Fantastic Four was the first all-female DJ team. People think it's Super Jane, but it's not. Super Jane started in 95, 97. We started in 83, 84. So we set tone way before they did. And so we were at Sowers or Sawyers, depending on how you pronounce it. And it was the 4 of us. And I remember playing This Time Baby, Jackie Moore. And I remember the crowd just dancing and singing. And then I remember it was a row of guys just standing, as usual, at the base of the stage, just staring at me like, so you're a girl, huh? And I'm staring back like, yeah. Yeah. So those are fond memories there. And then I remember playing, it was me and somebody else and Farley. And so I was playing before Farley. And at the playground, candy store, both the same places, they had the turntables. They were on chains, so they could swing back and forth. And there was a plaque of wood there and 2 cinder blocks that you could step up on. And the wood, of course, went past the cinder blocks. So, it's like a teeter-totter if you stepped on the edge. And so I was standing, I was in the middle of blending the song, and Farley came over and stepped on the edge of the piece of wood, and I bounced up, but it didn't break what I was doing. And that night, he also pushed the whole table the whole table with the turntables and the mixer on it, just pushed it out to swing it. He also changed the pitch on the record. He put it from 33, on 33 and a third. He changed it to 45.
Oh, no.
And, but what made the night so great is that he didn't shake me. And that was his goal. His goal was, you my girl, I'm gonna make sure that you can hang with us guys. I'm gonna do everything to you that I do to them, and you better still be able to move the crowd. And I did. I didn't know it was coming, but when it came, I was so pissed off that it kept me focused. I didn't turn to say anything to him. I didn't get mad. I just kept doing what I was doing as though he hadn't done anything to me. And I'll never forget that. So people kept dancing. It's never, they're going to dance or they're not going to dance.
Right.
I believe people come out. If you spend money to come out to a party and you stand around waiting for your one song, you could have stayed home and played it on your CD player. Don't come to the party and sit at the bar or just sit down up against the wall. I'm waiting for the DJ to play my sound. Really?
Does that irk
Not a
you?
jukebox.
That irks you, huh?
Oh, my God. And then to come up and ask for a request, could you play, hey, hey? No. Why not? Because that song's tempo is way up, 125, somewhere up there, and I'm down here at 120. So, no, I can't play it. Well, it'll mix, and then they start mouth mixing. No. And then, then I got to be the B word. And I'm okay with that because that, for me, that means BITCH, being in total control of herself. You don't control me. So if that's what I'm glad you recognize that. It ain't what you call me, it's what I answer to. So we're good.
Do women want to have women wanted to fight you because you didn't play their favorite song?
No.
Okay.
I've never had a situation where I've been at a club and somebody wanted to fight me because I give people back what they give me.
Right.
So if you give me love, I give you love. You give me crap, I'm going to give it right back to you. But I'm going to do it with love. So I learned that. I learned that from watching some of the guys get beat up.
You are such a Virgo. It's so funny. It's just like me. You're just like I will stab you, but you won't know that you're bleeding until after the fact. Like, wait, he got me. Yep, I sure did. Because you're an asshole. That's why. That's why I got you.
But don't worry, I called 911, and I will stay here and hold your hand till they get me, just to let you know we're good. Because now you know not to mess with me. I'm a different level of psycho. I'm not crazy. I'm just a different level of psycho, and that's a whole nother thing.
It's so unbelievable. So when did you, okay, so I knew you coming into college as a first lady. When did you first have that nickname?
It was, my first radio name was Party Girl. And yeah, that was like for 2 shows. And
at KKC?
it was Party Girl.
Okay.
And I don't know, just when I listened back to my cassette, because we used to put air checks on cassettes, remember?
Sure.
When I listened back to it, I didn't like the fact that there were going to be other girls, that people had little girls listening too, and that I was having them, that there was a possibility they would want to be like me, Party Girl. And I thought, no, I'm better than that. I could find something better than that. And I heard Ladies First. Mm-hmm. And Pink played it when it first came out. And I thought to myself, I'm going to call myself First Lady. And it was just like that.
Wow.
It was just like that. When I heard what they were saying in the song, and when Moni Love says, I'm a lady and I'm first because I'm F-I-R-S-T. And I was like, there it is. That's my name. And I said to Pink, that's going to be my name from now on. Call me First Lady. And he was like, I like that. And
I like that.
That's how it started. Of course, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You were saying.
No, I was like, then over the years it progressed, and I came up with other reasons that I wanted to continue to have that name. Because when I got to New York, they wanted me to change it to something else. And I was like, hell to the no. I came here as First Lady, and if you don't like it, you can send me back to Chicago. And that was, I was honestly my attitude. I worked too hard for my name. I wasn't going to change it. And Fat Man Scoop came in and backed me up so that I was able to keep my name. So, because we had been friends for years. And so I never looked back. I added to it, then it became First Lady Chris Ray when I moved over to BLS because they wanted to distinguish. I wasn't changing my name, but I was willing to add on to it. So most outside of Chicago in radio, I'm known as First Lady Chris Ray. But in Chicago, I'm known as First Lady. As a DJ, I'm known as First Lady.
Or Chrissy.
Yeah, Chrissy. It's so funny because people call me, like Sundance calls me Chrissy, and she has to really think in her mind to say First Lady, because that's what she's always known me as, because she knew me when my DJ name was Chrissy Hotnix.
Right.
So, and there's a lot of people like that, like yourself, and it's like I don't mind, I don't mind go back and forth, because what happens when people call you an old name that you don't use anymore, other people who are just meeting you believe that they can have that same right, and it's like you don't have that right because you don't have that history with me. So, I don't expect to come to work next week and hear Eric call me Chrissy, because he's going to come to work with a black eye.
That's right. I already told him. I already told him. I'm like, because we're at the same. I knew her as Chrissy Henderson, so you can't call her Chrissy. Only I can, because I worked at the same station with you, and I'm old enough to remember that. But you call her First Lady, sir. So, tell me this about Illinois Media School. I wanted to find out, how many kids have you converted from hip hop to house? I actually saw this in real time on Instagram, which was amazing. Where it was just this young lady. It was all about hip hop, and it was you, and I believe Hugo was there as well. And all of a sudden, she starts bobbing her head, and she starts understanding why we love house so much. How many conversions do you have, Dr. Olstein? What have you done to convert the hip hoppers to house?
You know what? I don't know. During the DJ class, all of them were feeling the house music. That's why we teach with house music. There's not a challenge teaching with hip hop. Teaching with house music. One, it's all about love. Unless it's all about love. It's all about the beats. It's all about the groove, and you can really get into it. So I think there are more of them that like the music, but they don't want to be ridiculed, so they don't really say anything, but they'll look over to see what the name of the song is. That's during the DJ seminars that we do. But in class, I would play my mixes sometimes, and I would just play it underneath while they were doing, writing their scripts or whatever, because just being in dead silence it sucks. So I would play that sometimes, and they would be, hey, what you know about this? And I'm like, what do I know about it? What do you know about it? Oh, DJ Ferris was playing this at whatever spot they were at. And I'm like, okay. So you guys know more than just the percolator, huh? Yeah. Oh, okay. Just glad to know. And, educating them on the difference between disco and house music. Disco, funk, R&B, house music. Not the same thing. EDM, I don't know what that is. It is not house music. Okay.
Right.
So, and techno is its own. It's its own thing. Techno is not house. It's techno. It's its own thing. Give it its own name. You don't just give it. It has its own name. It started somewhere else. It has its own vibe, and it's doing its own thing. Acid. It's its own. It is a form of house music, yes, but it's its own thing. It ain't Chicago house. Let me put it like that. So, I think more of them. I saw a lot of the students at the Chicago House Music Day last year in Millennium Park. I've had a lot of them talk about going to the Chosen Few picnic with their parent. Coming up.
I'll be there.
And so there's another event. It's not a shameless plug. It's a plug. It's called Sundress Day. And it's happening July 21st at Montrose Beach. And you can find out about it at sundressday.org. And it's really about the celebration and the uplifting and empowering of women and girls of all ages, all races, all socio-economical backgrounds, all gender identifications. And we got some really great talent, and the one that I'm looking most forward to seeing is Big Frida. So looking forward to seeing Big Frida. You already know. So, and we've got, and I'll stop laughing. I love me some Big Frida. Okay. There'll be a gospel stage, a faith and praise stage. There'll be a main stage. We got Paul Johnson that's going to DJ. We got Psycho B, who's going to, I don't want to say the full name because it's a cuss word, but we have her. We have another DJ Deluxe, who's flying in from Barbados. We've got DJ Nikki X, who's Asian, DJ AM PM, Sundance, of course. Who else do we have? A young girl from Indianapolis named DJ Haley. We got DJ Hummingbird. So we got white girl DJs, black girl DJs, Puerto Rican girl DJs, Barbados DJs. We got some Asian DJs. We got straight DJs, gay DJs. Because that's a representation of who we all are as women. So we're trying to make sure that everybody has a voice, because that's so important. Then we have a man cave, because we don't want to forget about you guys.
Sure.
So we got a man cave. And then, we got Paul Johnson, we got Hugo, we've got Eric E.T. Taylor. So they'll be there representing the gentleman, and Farley, of course.
Yes.
Interesting thing, Farley's going to be playing on the Faith and Praise stage. That ought to be interesting. So, my daddy loves Jesus. So that'll be fun.
Wow.
And again, it's the first time any kind of festival like this is being done in the city of Chicago. So I'm excited to be one of the lead producers and entertainment directors for this, and I'm going to play as well. So I would definitely like to invite you out. And I know Eric's going to come.
Yes. If I'm there, he'll be there.
He's going to bring his fiance. And now I just said that, and he's like, I didn't say I was coming. Well, you're coming now, Eric. So there, somebody's got to fly the drones for the students. And then the other thing that I love about Illinois Media School is that I get to give the students opportunities at festivals and stuff like this to come out and videotape and edit video and edit sound. It puts them in a position to see how large festivals are done, and how the music and the sound, the audio is done, what the hosts do, how they interact with the guests, the attendees when they're not on the stage. It gives them an opportunity to see something, what goes on outside, out in the field. And I think that's important. It's very important.
First Lady, do you believe at some point in the near future that we will see the house format on FM or on Sirius XM as a full 24-hour format?
I would like to say yes, but I think until the house music industry as a whole, the house music and dance industry as a whole, until we have a strong collaboration and we get right within our own individual cliques, communities, cities, regions, states, countries, no. But here's the beauty of it. The beauty of it is because of the way technology has made room. Like they say, your gift will make room for you. Technology has made room for people's gifts. So it gives me, the digital stores give you an opportunity. You don't have to be a Sony or an Epic or anything like that to get your music heard. Chance the Rapper is a prime example of that. I don't need a major label in order to be put on. I can put myself on. And this is something that the house music community knows, but now you have artists that are owning their own labels. I started a label called Creative Control Music because I wanted to be able to support the music on that level. So, and then you have people like yourself and myself that love the music, and now you have the opportunity to have your own podcast, your own internet radio station. You can stream yourself. And if you want, you can link up with an iHeart or, a TuneIn app or whatever you want to link up with. But it's yours, and you can focus it on what you want, and people all over the world can have it. They don't have to pay for it. They get it when they want it. You can give more opportunity to artists. You can give more opportunities to DJs, more opportunities to radio personalities. They can mail in their work. You don't have to fly people in from other parts of the country. I do guest mixes on different stations that are in the UK, like myhousefm.net and housefm.net. And so I record the mix. I put my voice on the mix, and I send it WeTransfer. They get it, they upload it, and they play it. And I didn't have to go to the UK to do it. You know what I mean? Any monies that transpire just hit my PayPal or, my Cash App or whatever. So I think that's where our real strength is going to lie. And we can, just like we did with rap music, with KKC and rap radio and 106 Jams, we forced GCI and B96 to start playing hip-hop because they weren't playing it. We forced them to because we surrounded them with the music, so they couldn't ignore it because all of the kids, which are the future, they were coming to us. So they had to get on board or the train was going to leave the station without them. And house music has to take that same approach, and we have more avenues to do it within now. So that's what I think. And most of all, people have to support it.
So what does it feel like to work for the number one station in the city? V103? You sound like a caller there. Like yes, you won the prize. What station just hooked you up with tickets? V103? Yes, V103.
I didn't read the emails yet, so it's difficult to maneuver my phone with my shoulder being in this sling. So I didn't get to the emails yet, but yeah, it's awesome. It's always awesome being number one. It's also a lot of pressure because getting to be number one is not the real hard job. The real hard job is maintaining that position because everybody's coming after you. And I don't look at it, the fact that I do the Saturday show, I don't look at it as I'm not a part of the big picture because I'm very much a part of the big picture. If you look at any basketball team, and I'm using a sports reference because, that's your thing. When you look at the big picture, that first, your second string is just as important as your first string. If Jordan got hurt, who was coming off the bench? Somebody and they got to be, if they're not just as great as Jordan, they got to be able to hold the position. Don't make us lose points. That's what, you don't have to necessarily make the points. If you do, that's great. But let's make sure we don't lose any points and we keep this lead. And that's the way I view it. There are no small players, small-minded people, but no small players. So whether I'm working for Beyonce or working for Joe or working for Chris Michaels or working for Ramon, it doesn't matter. When I'm on the air, it's their show. But for that moment in time, those listeners belong to me, and it's my job to keep them engaged because the music is going to be the same, but to keep them engaged with listening to me and holding them through that commercial break. That's most important.
Oh, yeah.
People will punch out during the commercial break. So, it's a wonderful thing, and also to not have to be in charge of anything is awesome. Being a PD is exhausting. Mm-hmm. Oh my God! You got to deal with so many people's egos. You got to deal with the client, making sure that the client. It makes sure that you can, from a programming standpoint, that you can deliver what these salespeople have gone out and said you were going to do. They had said that we're going to bring Jesus flying in on a red carpet, and it's like, are you kidding me?
Right.
I can't do that, but I got to figure it out, and then you got jocks that don't show up, and then the station goes off the air, and then you got a whole new set of rules, and there's this whole sound exchange thing, and there's this law about it. When you're a jock, you come in, you do your show, you go home, and you forget about everything else that's happened. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, I think that we have two people from the same college, and actually there's a few more out there. Sam Silk, Sean Knight, who's in Texas. There's a number of us out there that made it from 68th and Wentworth from WKKC, and we're out here on the airwaves and doing things. So I'm just glad that that we knew each other from college. Even though, like I said, when you were on your height, like I was really small potatoes. Like the story is, I come in right, and Rap House is the biggest show on WKKC, and James Kelly, the program director, is like, you know what? I know you know sports, so here's what we're gonna do. So they expanded like the sports show, if you remember, on Saturdays at 2 to 2:30. It became 2 to 4 o'clock, and that got into an hour of Rap House. And the last thing I want to see is Pink House come down the ramp and glare at me for taking an hour of Rap House. And I open the door and I go, Pink, and he goes, hey man, I love that sports show, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. Like, he wasn't pissed. I thought he was gonna be like pissed at me, like he's gonna catch me in the parking lot. But he was cool because my sports show started to evolve from a half-hour show to 2 hours on Saturday, taking an hour of Rap House. So I think from that standpoint, I don't think I really look back.
Yeah, you know what? There are those of us that we're not angry, we're not mad because somebody who's coming up behind us starts to excel. You know, that's a good thing, because the only way you could have got that part of his show is if you were really bringing it. You know, right. You have to really be bringing it in order to get that. So, you know, kudos to you. My favorite part of Fridays when I would get off the air was a chick named Bonet, and she was supposed to show up to do Bill Lattin's Opera World, run the board. She never showed. I think she was mad because that slot was originally hers and they gave it to me. But that's what happens sometimes when you take off. You know, somebody comes in and takes your spot, unfortunately, unless you're under contract.
Right.
But as much as I wasn't a fan of opera, I spent time talking to Mr. Lattin about what the story was going to be, so
right.
that I would know. I got to sit there for 2 hours. I want to know what it is, and he would explain it. And so I would introduce him as the bad boy of opera, of the opera world. It's bad boy Bill Lattin. And that was the way I introduced him, and he loved it. He thought it was awesome. And I told him, don't ever call himself that, though. You know, I'm his hype person. Let me do it. You know, and he would sit in there smelling like cigarettes, and he would do his thing. You know, and remember he wore those seersucker suits with the pockets at the top. You know, like
yes.
like Mike Brady. But
right.
You gotta love this guy. You gotta love him. I was sad to hear that he had passed, but he's one of those people that, even though he wasn't really an instructor, that I learned a lot from. You know, and I appreciate my experience at KKC so very much. I just really do. Because everybody there was genuine. All the instructors were genuine. They told me it was going to be hard, that it wasn't going to be easy, and that getting the job is the easy part. Keeping it is what's difficult, and that your attitude has so much more to do with how far you'll go in this game. Not so much always your talent. I mean, you can have mediocre talent, but you can be team player number one, and they will hold on to you while they're letting go of other people. So I learned a lot from them. So, I mean, I'll forever be in debt. And I think that's one of the reasons why when I got the opportunity to go to teach at IMS, I said, yeah, I'm going to do this, because somebody poured into me before I got a chance to meet Irene Mojica and Yvonne Daniels and those legends, Chili Child, Adonna Tittle, before they got their hands on me. These teachers took the time to keep it real and teach me. And they were all men. I didn't have any female teachers. They were all men. So that sometimes hard edge that I have comes from the majority of my mentors being men. Just, you know, kind of the way it is. So, Eric, if you've ever wondered why sometimes I talk about punching somebody in the throat, well, now you know.
That's crazy. I'm glad you spent some time with us here on the podcast because I wanted people to understand our upbringing in the business and where the business stands today. So I know it's been a long time since we spoke. I will come to your class and see you because it's been such a long time, but it's great to be able to catch up and talk to you today.
Well, it's great talking to you as well and getting all caught up. If I could let your listeners know that they can connect with me on social media, any social media that there is, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, MySpace, Google+, YouTube, Mixcloud, SoundCloud, 2 Facebook pages, Vine,
Black Planet.
Black Planet. Well, no, I closed my Black Planet account because I'm married. It didn't make any sense for me to have it. But they made us have it at the station. But anyway, at I Love First Lady, ILOVEFIRST LADY. I Love First Lady across all social media. So if you ever want to connect with me, that's how you do it.
Chrissy, I'm glad you spent some time. Yes, you always follow back. Yes, I know that because it's right in front of me right here, your social media. So thanks so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to sitting down and really getting caught up.
Oh, the off-the-air stuff. This is what the podcast for. Right. You're supposed to put that stuff on the podcast.
No. I mean, getting caught up, so what's going on in your home life, and yes. What do you use to fertilize your lawn with, and, what toilet paper do you use? That type of stuff.
Okay.
Somebody don't want to hear that.
I'll be ready for that. Thank you.
All right. I will talk with you all later.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Our thanks to Khris Hutchinson, better known as the First Lady, for being with us here on the Under the Hood podcast. So great to talk to her and catch up with her after, almost 30 years since college. So it's great to be able to talk to her. I want to thank you guys for listening all throughout the United States. We have seen the numbers grow, which is amazing for a podcast that started really in January. In the United States, also listeners in the UK, in Australia, in the Czech Republic, we see numbers from those 4 countries. It's just amazing. And those of you listening in Idaho and Arizona, Virginia, saw something from Greensboro, North Carolina, in San Jose, California, all up and down Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, in Georgia and Texas, wherever you are, thank you so much for listening to this Under the Hood podcast. The executive producer of the Under the Hood podcast is Eric Ostrowski. And we appreciate you supporting this show. Make sure that if you like what you hear, leave 5 stars, especially for those of you listening on Apple Music, and a review of the show. And as we go out today, we will give you a sample of the First Lady and the way she does her business as a DJ. She is terrific. Again, if you heard the interview, she's internationally known, not just in the United States, but all over the world, of being able to do mix shows. Here's a sample of her work, and thanks so much for listening to the Under the Hood podcast with me, Jonathan Hood. We'll talk to you next time.